collision with purpose, in pursuit of purpose.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the A Collision with Purpose project under the spotlight. Here, individuals are given the opportunity to explore self in pursuit of their purpose. I am Dr. Laxley Stephenson, and I'm your host. The A Collision with Purpose project allows individuals to pause, take a quiet moment and listen, be introspective, and explore self in pursuing their purpose to unleash possibilities with far-reaching implications for self and others. Today, the A Collision with Purpose project spotlight is on Mr. Raymond Thomas. Mr. Thomas is the president of Mapleton Improvement Coalition. He's the director of sales and marketing, Atlanta region, Allied Financial, and he's an advocate for social change. Folks, let us welcome Mr. Thomas to the A Collision with Purpose project under the spotlight.
Glad to be here, Dr. Stephenson, and it's a pleasure and honor to talk to you this afternoon.
Mr. Thomas, it is indeed my pleasure to welcome you to the A Collision with Purpose project under the spotlight. I am looking forward to having an engaging, insightful, and interactive conversation with you about a topic which I believe is arguably one of the most consequential concepts in forming how we function as individuals, and ultimately what we perceive as our legacy.
Absolutely, I totally agree with that.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. So, Mr. Thomas, today we're going to explore self in pursuit of purpose. I will be asking you a series of questions relating to purpose. Are you ready to conduct an exploration of self in pursuit of your purpose?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is an ongoing quest for me. So this is just another day in my quest for purpose. So far away.
Awesome. So for many individuals, the concept or the notion of purpose is somewhat challenging. It's not a routine for them to focus on what is purpose. So I believe that any serious conversation relating to purpose should begin with a definition of purpose. Would you be so kind as to define purpose for our listeners and do so in a general way?
Okay, well, I'll give it a shot. For me, purpose is simply what God has provisioned for you for your life. There are many people who will live a life without knowing what their purpose is. And so it took me a long while. You know, I've been like many of the folks listening to this podcast. Purpose for me, like I said, is when you figure out what God's provision for you is in this life. It's sort of like I tell my grandson, you know, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You know, that the world is like a jigsaw puzzle, and what you have to do is to figure out your little piece and stick it in that puzzle so it fits. So to me, that's what purpose is.
So finding your place as assigned by God.
That's right.
Is key. So given what you've just said and God being such an important, part of what a person's purpose is, would you say that it is important for an individual, including yourself, to develop an understanding of their purpose?
Oh, without question. I mean, you have to be able to figure out, again, what your role is in this life, and it's your legacy. You know, if you don't know what you're here for and where you're going, then you're going to be lost. And so that's the thing that I think I've figured it out, but there's still days when I have to make adjustments.
So it's still days when you have to make adjustments. So talking about those adjustments, today and in your current state, where you are in your life right now, can you articulate what your specific purpose is for our listeners?
Yeah, and it's not only Laxley, my purpose, but it is evolved into my family's purpose. You know, my wife, daughter, and grandson, and our purpose. It took us a while, like I said earlier, but our purpose that we have figured out is to serve others. And for example, you mentioned earlier that I'm president of the Mapleton Improvement Coalition, and you know, that's a nonprofit organization that's in my community, and we don't. We have 11 members of the board of directors. We don't get paid a dime, and but I'm fulfilling my purpose in helping my community redevelop and get revitalized. And so our family purpose is to help others, and in helping others, we help our community.
So the community component is so important.
Right.
Because, yes, and I can relate to that. Now, you know, there's a notion of aligning oneself with their purpose and living on purpose. Can you explain what that means and what it means for you and your family, of course?
Yeah, well, you know, we, once we've kind of figured out, you know, what our purpose is, we developed three core principles to go along with our purpose. And those three principles are as follows. One, we stay committed to God, number one. Number two is to be committed to our family. And number three, to be committed to our community. Our goal is, when we interact with others or we move into a community, that those interactions or those communities, when we leave, are actually better because we were there or because we interacted with others.
So as you walk through life and areas that you have, you left your footprints, the whole idea is to make sure you leave things better than when you
started. And when we leave.
Okay. So how do you know when you're actually living on purpose? I know you talk about the importance of it, but how do you know when you're aligned, when you're doing this?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, how do you know? Well, you know, the way I put it, Lox, is like this, and excuse me if I'm a little bit too casual here in calling you Lox, because you know we go a long ways, over 50 years.
That's perfectly okay. We're having a conversation.
Although I'm very proud of you and what you've accomplished, and but anyway, getting back to your question, and you know, it kind of slipped my mind a little bit, but anyway, the bottom line is that what we've done is, you know, in terms of what you're asking, what rephrase the question for me again.
How do you know?
Yeah,
when you're in step with your purpose, when you're aligned with it? Right.
So great question. So how do you know? All right. If I may use a sport analogy to try to explain, allow me to indulge. How do you know? So, you know, it's like sports. You know, some people play sports and they're very good at it, and they reach a certain level in their sporting profession, and they would play that game or that sport regardless of whether they get paid millions of dollars or not.
Mm.
And so, you know, when you're in your purpose, when you're doing something that, you know, God has bestowed on your life, and you're doing it, and you'll do it over and over, day after day, no matter what the challenges are, you know, and you love it, even when you don't get any kind of praise, recognition, or compensation. Doing something that you love to do, regardless of whether or not it's going to be monetarily beneficial to you. That's how you know.
So it's a feeling. It's a feeling. It's a fulfillment.
Well, it's and not only just a feeling and a fulfillment, but it's the sense of gratitude. You know, when you're able to help someone, you know, overcome a challenge. The gratitude when you walk into a school and you talk to kids, and you go back to that school, and they actually remember some of the things that you said to them. So it's not only, you know, just you know, a feeling. It's beyond a feeling. It's a sense of accomplishment, and a sense of significance. Now, let me try to break that down a little bit further. You know, you and I, like I said, came up out of a tough place called Poughkeepsie, New York, right? And my goal coming out of there was just one thing. Number one, to get out, and number two, you know, to make some money so I can sustain myself. Fortunately for me, and you, and some others, although there's a lot of people who didn't make it out, but the few of us who didn't make it out, you know, we start moving in the direction whatever we want to accomplish. And so, you know, the whole idea is to gain success, right? And this success is usually surrounded, you know, around material acquisitions, you know, and asset accumulation, right? So it's driven by, again, you know, monetary achievement. That's what we call success. But, you know, one day I was actually paying attention in church this Sunday, when the preacher had a message about the difference between success and significance. And that's when the light bulb went on for me. You know, yeah, I've been fortunate to be relatively successful and can take care of my family and financially and so forth. But when my pastor preached that message about significance, that's when it dawned on me that, you know what, when that day comes and you're sitting horizontally in a coffin, you know, nobody talks about how much money you got. You know, what people normally would talk about or recognize you for, or the things that you have done to help other people be successful and significant. You see, so that's what when I started pursuing this whole idea of, you know, what is going to be my legacy? What do I want to achieve out of this life beyond, you know, like I said, just providing for self and family. And you know, I've always been pretty active in civic organizations and so forth, but it wasn't as profound as it is now. And that's because now I've been able to figure out that serving with a good heart and helping others be successful is really, what life's purpose is about, at least for me.
I truly agree with you on that. So you spent a significant amount of your professional career at Allied Financial. At that time, most of the time with a different name. How did your work there fit in or align with your purpose as you discovered your purpose?
Well, to be honest with you, initially, there was no alignment because like I said, my whole thrust at the time, and I spent 39 years, 39 years with the company in different forms of the company, different names and what have you, as the company was sold and bought and so on. But, initially my sole focus was, make as much as I can, get elevated as far as I could, and enjoy myself and take care of my family. But again, as I began to mature and started realizing that there is a missing element in all of that. There's several facets of life, and the missing element was tending to my spiritual life. And so after about, I guess I was 20 years in or so, 20, 25 years in with the company. And I started realizing that, that whole Jamaican work ethic that's embedded in us, that you work, you go work for a company, started reassessing all those things, and started having a better balance in my life in terms of the job success, and the spiritual, started balancing better the spiritual and the physical. And so therefore, that's when I started, recognizing that, hey, you know what, life isn't all about just working and making money.
So 20 plus years into your career, professional career, you somewhat had a collision with your purpose. You started to make that discovery.
That's a beautiful word, collision. But the connotation of it is like, something bumping up against each other. And so, yes, that's probably an apt description.
And you continue to build on it and make more discoveries, and then you discovered that it was also important now that it shouldn't just be you, but your entire your family, that nucleus, that is so important.
And not only that, but also the community, the people who are around you, and so you start seeing more, you start being more enlightened, you start being more sensitive to the travails of others, and like I said, whenever you can help them, fantastic. Whenever you can't, you try to figure out alternative ways or to direct them in places where where people can be helped.
So in your circle of friends, the individuals close to you, is a discussion about purpose commonplace?
Well, when I'm talking to you, yeah. But it all depends. We have all different types of friends. The ones that are probably closest to me, yes, we talk about life and legacy and purpose and mission and all those things. But then there's some, like my domino friends, well, it's just domino, or golf, it's just golf. you know, so it all depends on who I'm with at that particular moment in time.
No room for purpose on the golf course.
Well, actually there is Laxley, but it's a different type of purpose.
I would say so. Not in the way, because of course it's a community thing as well when you're out there playing golf, and so there's much to be gained from doing things like that. No, for those individuals,
yes,
there are enough of them out there who are struggling with understanding what their purpose is, and much less to say that they're aligned with their purpose. What suggestions can you make?
Well, I don't profess to be an expert on the topic of a purpose. However, I'll be happy to share with anyone some of the things that I've done to help me discover what my purpose is. Number one is to pick up their Bible and start reading it. That's something I've always done, but was not devoted to it. And so when you're not devoted to something, right, you kind of deal with it casually. And so when I started reading the Bibles, very seriously, from back and front, there's some years, all you got to do, if you read 3 pages a day, you get through it by the end of the year. And so I came to realize, man, that a lot of the issues of life, right, a lot of the struggles in life, the answers are right here in this book, and so whether you're dealing with issues of marriage, parenting, the moral, the political, the racial, the immigration issues of the day, you can find the answers right there in this book that's been around for over whatever it is, 4,000 years. And so that's the first thing I would say. The next thing is to devote some time to yourself at least on a weekly basis, if not on a daily basis. So many people they have to be around noise, I call it, right? You have to have people around. You got to have music, got to be involved in different things. And if you slow down and take some time to spend some time with yourself, which many people are afraid of themselves, believe it or not, but if you take that time and start meditating on the issues of the day that you're facing, you'll start realizing that, answers will start coming to you. So those are 2 things I would recommend. And the other thing too is to get around people who you aspire to be like. Too many people hang around folks who can't help them get nowhere. And so if you hang around folks who ain't doing nothing, not going anywhere, still talking about stuff like when we were children, then chances are, you're going to end up stuck like them. And so I encourage folks, get around people who are or at least appear to be doing well, and see if you can learn from them. So those are three of the things that that I've done to kind of help me deal with.
And those 3 things have served you well, and by extension, your community as well, because you fulfilling your purpose is, leaving, substantial mark on others. So,
No question.
you know,
Uh-huh.
you know what they say about if you want to keep a secret, store it in a book. So,
okay.
That's one of those things about,
Uh-huh.
yeah, because not enough people are many are reading, but I don't think enough of us are doing that, and you've done mentoring, you've mentored many
Yes.
individuals, and while you're mentoring, is purpose something that you talk about with these young folks and older folks that you mentor?
That's another excellent question, because earlier in my work career, I mentored people, but it was primarily, how do you get a what do you need to do to get a promotion? That sort of thing. And as I grew and start learning, and like I said, start better balance my life, between the spiritual and the physical, I come to realize that, many folks that you mentor have issues beyond, the form in which you're mentoring them, right? And so, I started getting deeper with these folks, and started talking about what is it they really want to accomplish in life, and you find out that, hey, the deeper the conversations get, the more bonded you become with those individuals, especially if they respect, the wisdom and the advice that you're giving them. And so, I'm to the point now where, many people on our board at Mapleton Improvement Coalition, we're intentionally bringing in younger folks, and so, or some younger folks, and because, hey, let's face it, people like me, we're in the twilight of our, or the last third of our existence on this earth, and so we need to bring others, to come up and take our spot. And so I spend a lot of time with the younger people to teach them how to, well, not necessarily teach, but guide them in terms of leadership, in terms of how to manage and deal with issues and challenges in their lives. And some of them will come to me and want me to get even more personal, whether it be helping them with their estate stuff and things like that. I have, because I've spent so much time in the financial business, but like I said, I've grown, and I'm trying to see what I can do to help, pass on some of the knowledge that I've grown into.
Indeed, and it's all about building capacity with these young folks, and creating awareness. One of the outcomes that I envision having from this A Collision with Purpose project is to create awareness, and awareness with our young folks, and especially on the served communities, and looking at how our schools, our teachers can start to have this conversation in these schools, talking about purpose, having these kids a bit more focused, and less, it's good to explore different things, but
sure,
at some point you need to really pay attention.
Yep.
Pay attention.
Well, I'm glad you brought up education, because that's one of our main objectives is, I live in a community where the school system is not highly regarded. And so one of our thrust and emphasis is to help improve our school system here. And I have to report that things are actually going in a wonderful direction, but it's been very, very difficult because you have the challenges of parental involvement. You have the challenges of economics. You have the challenge of government interference, especially today, in our school system. And then, in addition to all of that, right, the powers to be are trying to do everything it can to keep God out of our educational system. And so what I see happening is that we're literally growing up a whole generation of kids who have no moral or very little moral foundation. And so it's so then they have no question or reservation to take you out. And so we have to do something to re-inject some degree of moral and spiritual basis into our kids, into the educational institution. But like I said, it's very challenging. The good news is that we see that we're making progress. For example, at our local high school here, we got $50 million worth of renovations that's going on. A lot of that is due to the advocacy of our organization and people around us. I'm in the schools at least once a month. Just this week, was at one of our local schools talking about integrity and how important it is. Last week, I was at our high school, and at that time talking about, financial responsibility. So the educational system is needs a lot of work and need a lot of people much more engaged.
We can't speak enough about the importance of our education system, because that is our way out.
Yep.
Ultimately.
So just to share with you, and I don't know how much time we have left, but we had a meeting today with the Greater Atlanta Community Foundation, United Way, and some other organizations, and there's a lot of grant money that's floating around, and so we had to pick one or no more than two projects that can be implemented within the next 12 months, and so but those projects have to be under several segments, such as it's got to be either education, affordable housing, which is another huge issue in the country today. What else? And there are two or three others. Well, to your point, I told those folks, we need to focus on education, but more specifically on early education, because we have to start getting those kids that are, when they're young, to get them reading right, to doing their mathematics calculations, additions and subtraction, multiplication. We got to get there. We got to start getting them early.
Yes.
And so, but there are some people who say, hey, wait a minute, that's not an immediate need. We need to focus on affordable housing. We need to focus on homelessness. We need to focus on I guess, other things. And my point is, folks, if we can get our kids educated, right, means that they can think and liberate their minds. If we can get them educated, right, with a sound moral or spiritual foundation, all these other problems go away.
Yeah, while we will concede that those other issues are real concerns, I would agree that education is the A1 priority, and that's where we need to begin, and at an early age.
No doubt.
Not when they're in high school, a little bit late.
We just got 120 million bucks in this county where I live, and another 40 million again, right? And all these trillions. We don't even talk billions anymore. We in this country we talk trillions, right? And I keep saying, all those trillions of dollars to deal with some of these social issues. And again, I'm not minimizing those social issues. They're real, right? And they have to be dealt with, right? But if we're looking, we got to start thinking long term. And if we're thinking long term, then we got to put those resources into the education of these youngsters, particularly in communities of color.
Yes, and the already underserved communities, most definitely.
Yep.
Most definitely. Now we're coming close to wrapping up, and let's stay in our younger folks here. And what is the one thing, if there's such a thing, that you want our listeners, and focus on the young folks, to take away from our conversation today?
Well, the one thing I want them to understand is this, and that is that they are significant. All of us, every one of us, has something to give to this world. You see, and so as they grow up, don't let anybody tell you, right, that you're insignificant, and that you can't do this and you can't do it. Don't let anybody tell you. I tell my grandson this all the time. Well, granddad, I can't. No, you can do it. And so that's the one takeaway. If there's anything I can give, is that you're significant, you're important, you have a mind, and you can accomplish things. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't.
That's not just for our young kids, that's for everyone.
All right, okay.
That's for everyone. That's for everyone. And so any other remarks, anything else you'd like to share before we close down, Thomas?
No, just thank you for the opportunity to sit down and take a few minutes and talk with you about a very important topic. And just want to say, you and your organization are doing a fantastic job, and I wish you all mega success. And if there's anything that I can do to further assist you, please let me know.
Well, definitely be calling on you.
Okay.
Again.
No problem.
So, Mr. Thomas, I really would like to, I'm saying thank you for joining me today on the A Collision with Purpose project. Your insights will undoubtedly add immense value to the conversation about purpose. I'm looking forward to having you back on the spotlight to continue our conversation about purpose. In fact, I'm going to extend an open invitation to you to come back whenever you can. Will you accept?
Accepted.
Thank you so much. Well,
you're welcome, my friend.
Thank you, sir. Well, folks, this brings us to the end of this edition of the A Collision with Purpose project on the Spotlight. If you're like most of us and would like to have a better understanding of your purpose, then please submit your short video speaking on purpose to acollisionwithpurpose@gmail.com. If you would like to participate in an interview, much like this one with Mr. Thomas, then please submit your request to be interviewed to the acollisionwithpurpose@gmail.com. Please note that your video submission will be posted on our social media platforms. That is it for now. Blessings always.